It's not even close. First, let me tell you that I'm a huge Apple fanboy. I really love Apple products. But once you try out OpenAI, it's really hard to unsee just how dumb Siri is in certain situations. Now, Siri is great when it comes to giving specific commands to do specific things in the ecoverse, but in particular when it comes to answering questions or guessing from context or giving you an answer to something that hasn't been programmed in yet, it performs really poorly. So, what do? Well, you probably guessed it. We're going to replace Siri on this iPhone with Siri's sister, who's powered by OpenAI and a lot smarter. In less than 5 minutes, your phone can go from this: "Hey Siri, can you explain the blockchain to me?"
Okay, I found this on the web for Can you explain blockchain to me? Check it out.
To this: "Hey Siri, ask your sister,
What would you like to know?
can you explain the blockchain to me?"
Blockchain is a digital ledger technology that stores and records transactions in a secure, decentralized way. It uses cryptography to ensure data integrity and can be used for a variety of applications, such as cryptocurrency, smart contracts, and more.
Again, all it's going to take us is 5 minutes. It's free and you don't need to know how to code. Also, if you don't want to build it yourself, you can just go into the description and download the template. Otherwise, I have now the step-by-step instructions for you. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to create your account with OpenAI. OpenAI is going to be the service that we use to replace Siri on our laptop. It's one of the most powerful AIs out there, at least the ones that are open source and easy to access. All you need to do is use the link in the description, create an account, and then log in, and this is what you'll see. Now, create an account with OpenAI is free and they give you a lot of credits in the beginning to start using it. You can do a lot of Siri replacements with that, but if you use up all your credits after a while, you will have to start paying, although even then it's still really affordable, it's really cheap. So go ahead, create your account, and then once you're logged in, I want you to click in the top right corner on Personal and then on View API Keys. Now on this screen, you will see probably only one key and then this button, Create a New Secret Key. Now, in the next step, I want you to click on this and then copy whatever it shows you and save it in a secure location. This is the API key that we need to authorize us when we start using other applications and send a request to OpenAI to verify, well, it's us, we are allowed to do this. Now, it's very important that A, you don't share your API key with anyone, because if you do, they could access OpenAI and use up your free credits, and we don't want that. And B, after you close the window, you won't be able to see your API key again. Of course, if you forget it and don't save it, you can just generate a new one, but still make sure that you copy it, save it in a secure location, because we're going to need it in the next step. So now click on here and copy whatever pops up. Okay, next I want you to open the Shortcuts app either on your Mac or on your iPhone. Now I'm going to show you how to set everything up on the Mac, but if you don't have one or you want to do it on your iPhone, don't worry, it works exactly the same way. Also, remember that if you don't want to build anything of this yourself, you can just go to the description and download this shortcut, and then you can just add it to your iPhone. It will work right away with one modification needed, so don't stop watching right now. I'm going to explain in a second the one setup change that you need to do to make it work. So in the Shortcuts app, let's click on the plus icon to create a new shortcut. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to name the shortcut. Now, don't give it just any name, because this name is what you have to call or ask Siri in order to trigger this shortcut. So if you give this an organizational name, it won't work well. In the example that I showed you in the intro, I named this Hey Siri, and then I said, ask your sister, right? So I added as a name, ask your sister. So whatever you want to come after your Siri command, add this as the title. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add our first action. And we can do this on the iPhone by just tapping on the add action, or in this case here on the Mac, we can start searching for action. And we want Siri to ask us for an input, which will basically mean that when we ask Siri to do it, the first thing that will come back is Siri will ask us, okay, what would you like to know? So this, we can just type in input, and this should, ask for input. And then you see we get this action, we can just drag it into our screen. So she will ask for text with, and then we can specify what she should say. So in this case, we could ask, what would you like to know? And now we've already added our first step. So when this shortcut will run, we will get asked, okay, what is the thing that we should want to ask OpenAI? Now, next up, we need to build our prompt, because for OpenAI, as you might have known from ChatGPT or something like that, it's very important to specify exactly what you want the software to do. So in this case, we're going to add a second module, a text one. This one shows up here already as a suggestions, but otherwise you could, again, just search for it and drag it in here. And this is where we're now going to specify our prompt and then, in addition, add what we ask here. Now, you could, of course, skip this step and always formulate a complete prompt whenever you do this, but that would take a lot of time, right? With these OpenAI, or like with AI models in general, and OpenAI specifically, the more context you give in your prompt, the more useful your answer will be. So instead of just asking OpenAI, what's the weather like, or a specific question, you want to make sure that it understands the role and context in which it answers. Because otherwise, you might get a very, very long answer, which is not very useful if you just want to ask your voice assistant quickly for like a short and concise one. So the prompt that I would recommend going with, but feel free to modify this and play around with it, is something like this. You can copy it from the blog post that's also linked in the description, or just copy it from here. You're an advanced voice assistant like Siri or Alexa. Your job is to answer the user question as short and concise as possible. Keep your answer to 30 seconds or less if read out loud, unless the user specifically asks for a long answer. User question. Now, this is where we now insert dynamically what we've asked here. And you can do that on the iPhone by just tapping the Add Variable option. Or if you're on the computer, you can use a right click and then you can click on Insert Variable and now select Variable. And we're going to pick our input from before, so it will start showing us our magic variables and we can get the provided input. That's what we want. And after the input, we need to now tell OpenAI, okay, that's it. That's the prompt. Now please start answering it. So let's do this here by writing now your answer and something like this. And this makes it clear now to OpenAI, okay, now it's time to create an answer for this. So we've created our input, we've crafted our prompt, and now it's time to send this to OpenAI. Now, there's no OpenAI integration yet for shortcuts, at least not that I'm aware of. If you look for OpenAI, nothing comes up. But we can send a general API request through shortcuts, which is what makes them so powerful. Don't worry if that sounds complicated. I will show you step by step how to do this. Then it's super simple. And again, check the blog post if you want written instructions over the video. Now we're going to look for the URL options. And there's the get contents of URL 1. And we're going to drag this here. And then we're going to set this up because it will need to be a bit more complicated than this. First things first, we need to specify where the shortcut should send the API request to, and that will be a URL. Now, by default, it will automatically pull in the text as the destination, but that's not a URL, right? So let's right click it and right click and clear, or normal click and also clear. Just remove the variable and then click in here and paste the URL that is shown here on the screen or on the blog post. This is the official API URL for OpenAI. You can also find it in the API documentation once you log into your account. That's the first step. And then we want to click on Show More to set up the rest. And the first thing we need to do is we need to change the method from get to post. And this will give us a few more options because we need to send something to, right? Posting information to OpenAI. Then click on Headers and add a header. Now, in the header section, we need to authorize ourselves. This is where the API key from before comes in handy. We need to prove to OpenAI that we're allowed to make this request. And we do so by clicking on plus and then writing as a key. In the key field, we're going to write authorization. And then in the value field, we're going to write bearer with a capital B, space. And this is now where you're going to paste your API key. So go back to whatever safe location you stored it in, and then come back and paste it here. I created an API key just for the purpose of this video, so I'm going to paste it now. And I'm going to delete it afterwards, so no point copying this here. But then we have like bearer, capital right, space, and then our API key starts. And that's all for the headers that we need to add. So now we can close this, or leave it there. Now it's time to focus on the request body. Now, it already is correct here with JSON, and now we need to add a few parameters to specify further what exactly we want OpenAI to do with our request. So click on the plus button, and the first thing that we're going to add here, again with like this same scheme of key, value, and we can also specify what sort of value it is. The first thing that we're going to input is the model. Now OpenAI has various natural language processing models, and they all have different capabilities, they have different training sets, they excel at different things, but in general, as a rule of thumb, it's best to use the latest model because it's the most powerful one. In our case, as of recording, that's Text DaVinci 003. So I'm going to head on over here and I'm going to input Text DaVinci and then 003. But if you watch this video later, do a quick Google search to see whether this is still the best module or whether we have something else that's more powerful. Then I'm going to click plus again for another line. And here we're going to add our prompt. And our prompt is going to be the text from here. So we can click now in the value field and we can insert a variable again. So on the computer, I'm going to right click, say insert variable. We can either say select variable or we can just, it already gives us the text option from before. So we can click on that. And now whatever is in here will be sent as the prompt to OpenAI. Two more and we're done. We're going to add another one for the temperature. And the temperature defines how creative OpenAI will get with your answer. It's a value between 0 and 1, with 0 being the least creative and 1 introducing the most chaos. So if you want, depending on how creative and out of the box you want your personal assistant to be, choose something, one important thing, flip text to number, and then input something like 0.3, for example. I'm using a comma here because my laptop is set to recognize that as the decimal, but if you are on one where you use a point or full stop instead of a comma, then use that. Otherwise, it will get an error, but just try with both if you're not sure. And last but not least, we need to specify max tokens. Now, max, underscore tokens is again a number, and will specify how many of your credits will be used up. Now, OpenAI works in this token system where I think one word equals like 7 or 8 tokens, or as letters, I can never remember. Either way, a good starting point for the text assistant would be something like 300. That should be enough to handle all your short prompts and short answers, which will be most of the ones for this use case. But if you keep getting an error that says invalid or exceeded token limit, then up this a little bit. And that's it for the setup here. So now we can click on run and see whether it works. We can test it right here by clicking on the play button. And if we do that, we won't get a voice prompt. Instead, we can just enter text, which is good for the testing purpose. So let's click on here. And what would you like to know? Well, I would like to know, why is the Mona Lisa so famous? Done. And then we want to allow this. And then it runs and we will see whether it worked. If it worked, then we will get something of a response that looks like this, where we have, among other things, at some point, a choices and then an answer text. Now, if you don't see something like this and instead you see an error, it will usually always show you an explanation of why that error occurred. It's very good with that. So then see where you made a mistake. Maybe you spelled something wrong or so. But in our case, we got an answer. The Mona Lisa is one of the most famous works of arts in the world. It was painted by the Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci in the 16th century and is known for its mysterious smile. It's widely considered to be a masterpiece of Renaissance art and on display. Okay, that wasn't the best answer for what we asked it, but let's roll with it and see whether we can improve the prompt then later, or whether other prompts answer better. But in general, for sure, it works. Now, of course, this long thing is nothing that we can use. When we use our voice assistant, we want the voice assistant to give us an answer back, right? So how do we do that? Well, first thing is we need to access the specific answer part. And that is inside this object. So we need to extract it. And the first thing where that we see is like it is inside choices, and then it's after text. Don't worry if this goes a bit above your head. If you've never done anything with programming, this might sound complicated, but just follow the next steps. Will be very easy. Basically, what we will do, we will first ask the shortcut to get information from choices, and then inside choices, what is after text. So to do that, we go for a module that is called dictionary. Dictionary, yeah, and we want to get dictionary value. We put this below our last module, and we want to get the value for the key choices. That's the first step. And then we get another one. Oops, not from input. We want to get it from value. And then we want to get it for text. And not the text from above. So don't use the variable. That's a bit tricky here now. And make sure that you don't click on it. If you get a variable and would try to get it from here, which wouldn't work, we want it from the text from there. And that should be it. So let's run it again. And actually then we don't see the answer, I believe. So last but not least, we want to add the speak text option. We will add this here. And now what will happen is it will send our prompt to OpenAI. Then it will figure out where in the OpenAI answer is the value. And then it will speak that back to us. So I actually haven't tested it on the computer yet. I don't know whether the speech output works here, but let's just try. So we click on play again, and then we say, okay, let's ask it again. Can you explain why the Mona Lisa painting is so famous? Maybe this gives us a better reply. Click on done, see what happens. Does it speak something?
The Mona Lisa is one of the most famous paintings in the world. It was painted by the Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci in the early 16th century and is believed to be a portrait of Lisa Gherardini, the wife of a Florentine merchant. The painting is renowned for its mysterious smile and the subtle use of light and shade, which has captivated viewers for centuries.
Not bad. So still not too much of an explanation of why it is so famous, but I guess that's if we ask for a short and distinct answer. Again, you can play around with the prompt, but you have a working prototype now. So with this, you can just now on your iPhone, instead of asking the normal Siri, you can ask Siri, hey Siri, ask your sister, and we'll bring up this far more advanced and elaborate OpenAI model to answer all your questions. But why stop here? You already have the power of one OpenAI assistant at your fingertips. Why not add a second one? OpenAI doesn't just have text processing models, not just natural language processing models. They also have text to image models, and the most famous one is called DallE. It's pretty well known, you've probably heard of it, or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion, where you give it a prompt and it will create a really cool image out of it. Well, whether the image is cool or not depends a bit on luck and how good your prompting skills are. But it's super simple to now adapt this first shortcut and add a second one where we create an image right on our phone. So let's just right click this and duplicate it. And we're going to open this. And instead of ask a sister, this time we will call this, oops, can I rename this? Yes, I can. Draw me a picture, because remember, this is what comes after the Siri command. And again, we want to ask it for an input, but this time it should ask, what should I draw? And now we don't need this, because for the text to image one, we just give the complete prompt here, because it will be different every time. But of course, if you always want your images in a specific style, right? If you always want a pencil drawing of X, you could of course have that as your prompt here, and then just specify here the exact thing that should be drawn in this style. But for this example, we can remove this. We still want to use this module, but we need to modify it a little bit. First, we need to change the URL, because now we no longer use the normal completion. Now we use the image one. So for this, the URL is images and then generation. We can keep the header, but we need to modify the request body a little bit. Okay, so the first thing we can get rid of is the model, because there's only one model for the text for the DallE one, so we can remove this one. We can also remove one of the ones below, and then the last one we want to change it, or actually let's just remove it and add a new one, because the one thing that we need to specify besides the prompt is the size. So let's type in size, By default, it will create fairly large images, which is fine if you want high resolution images. But for the test purposes, we're going to use the small one because this one uses up less of our credits. So it's great for just getting a hang of it. And then later, if you want higher quality ones, you can just remove this and it will default to the largest size. And then one last thing, the prompt we need to modify because it tries to pull in the text variable, which no longer exists, right? We deleted text. So let's click in here and clear the variable. And then instead we right click and say insert variable, select, and then we're going to select our provided input. Perfect. So we're nearly done. Just also as before, when we run this, we will get back this long thing with a URL, and we need to extract that URL. And we're going to use the same structure of two dictionary things here, but the keys have different names. So now instead of choices, we want to look for data. And then inside data, we want to look for URL. Now with the URL, you need to be careful again. Sometimes it tries to turn it into a variable, but we want to actually get the key. So just make sure that if a variable option pops up, you don't use it. And then we need to, instead of like speaking out the URL, we want to download it, right? We want to download the image and save it. And we do that first by adding another URL model, like another get contents, because that's also how we download stuff. So we say again, get contents of URL. And this time we can leave it like this. This time the get method is more than enough. We just want to download the value from here. And then last but not least, we need to save it to our images. So we pick save to photo album, and then it will now run through. It will ask us what should it draw. Then it will send that to DallE to generate an image. It will identify the URL where it can download the image, and it will download it and save it to your phone folder. So let's do also a test run of this. I'm going to pull up my iPhone and see what happens. So I'm going to pull up my shortcuts on the phone and insert a prompt. And now we just wait for OpenAI to render it. And if everything works, after that, we should be able to switch. Yes, we won't allow that, will allow that. And then we switch to our photo folder and ta-da, there it is. A cute cat picture, purple background, purple cat, cute, bustling street. Awesome, it worked. And that's it. Now you know how you can invite Siri's cool and much smarter sister to your iPhone and get the full power of artificial intelligence right at your fingertips for your personal assistant. As always, if you have any questions for this, please don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer every single one of them. Again, if you want to download one or both of the shortcuts, you can do that with the link in the description. There you also find the blog post that has the written instructions. And yeah, if you want to learn more about these super cool automations, and apart from that, a lot about Notion and how to make your workspace better and your workflows better, then definitely subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.